So James Gunn is in a tough spot. The man who promised to save DC is now quietly changing the entire structure of his Superman film. James Gunn cut 15 minutes, removed the composer, scrapped the original timeline format, and brought in a new editor. If James Gunn really believed in his original version for Superman, well, we wouldn't be seeing this many last minute shifts. And if James Gunn keeps making changes like this, people are going to wonder if Superman was ever ready in the first place. All right. Now, the word from test screenings is actually clear. Audiences are not buying what James Gunn is selling. You see, Superman is supposed to be the foundation of his entire DCU. If it flops, everything else goes down with it. So what does he do? He hires a new editor, he swaps out the composer, yanks 15 minutes of content, and that's just what we know so far. This isn't a polish, but it's damage control. And James Gunn is trying to go ahead and fix a car while it's already on the highway, and people are starting to smell the smoke coming from the engine itself. All right. Now, I'm going to be honest with you all. This is not me hating on James Gunn. This is not me trying to be a Snyder bro, because I'm not, because there's a number of films and stuff and works that by Zack Snyder that I don't like. But at the same time, I mean, I'm going to call a spade and everything. And I just don't, I'm doubtful of what James Gunn has to offer. I'm pretty sure, somebody else would be a better fit, but they got James Gunn. They decided on James Gunn. And you know what? It's not up to me to like dictate it whether or not, he should be there. All right. But that's just my opinion. Now, the original format was supposed to be different. Superman had an episodic structure. Days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You get the idea. But it was supposed to break up, the pacing and show the story unfold over time. That was James Gunn's plan. But now that's gone. He threw it out. You see, after test audiences reacted with a shrug, James Gunn folded and edited it into one continuous story, which is fine, unless your whole creative pitch was that the structure itself was bold and interesting. Okay. Now, this is not creativity, but instead it's retreat. And when James Gunn pitched Superman, he was selling vision. And now it's compromise after compromise. It's not a good sign when a director walks back his own format because audiences didn't clap loud enough. And it's worse when the marketing hasn't even started either, and the studio is already editing around panic. I mean, that's exactly what's happening here. You don't cut 15 minutes of a movie and rewrite the structure unless the foundation is cracking, okay? Now, they want this to be a blockbuster. Of course they do. They need this to be a blockbuster, but when the people in charge are afraid to commit to direction, that fear bleeds through. You see, James Gunn is trying to make everyone happy, which usually ends up making no one happy, asked Bob Iger. Now, Superman has now gone from stylized character story to generic popcorn flick because DC simply can't afford another flop. And that's not creative leadership right there. You see, that's just more executive survival mode, okay? Now, James Gunn still thinks he's got control. He wants people to believe that these changes make Superman stronger. And that's the narrative right now. But we've seen this movie before. Literally. These are the same people who said The Flash was going to be one of the best comic book movies of all time. And then it nosedive into one of the biggest flops Warner Brothers has ever suffered through. Okay? So when they say, trust us, we've got every reason to roll our eyes and cross our arms. In other words, give them the same treatment that we're giving Disney. Now, this isn't about James Gunn as a director anymore. You see, it's about James Gunn as the architect of an entire cinematic universe. You see, Superman is supposed to be the cornerstone of a new era. And yet, the moment early feedback didn't go their way, the studio pulled back on every risky idea that they had. The stylized segments, they were gone. The creative composer replaced. And now we're expected to pretend that this Frankenstein edit is what they always wanted. This is textbook panic mode right here, okay? But here's what y'all need to understand. Test screenings aren't gospel, okay? Everyone knows that the visual effects are rough. The score isn't final, but when you see this many changes, you don't need to see the full movie to go ahead and understand what's going on. You see, James Gunn is reacting, not leading. Superman isn't being tuned up, it's being rebuilt on the fly because the foundation wasn't solid to begin with. And if this film is the film they've been building the whole DCU on, then the future looks shaky. But there's an argument being made that the film is more accessible now, that removing the segmented timeline makes Superman more mainstream. Maybe, but that wasn't the pitch. That wasn't the vision either. That wasn't what James Gunn claimed he was doing when this project kicked off. So if your entire direction changes based on a single round of test screenings, well then what are you even doing? Are you making art or just desperately chasing a safe release at this point? Because I'm not convinced either way. But you don't create a bold new direction for the DCU by making safe edits. You do it by planting your flag and owning your style. But James Gunn seems to be slowly sanding off every edge he had. Every idea that made this Superman feel distinct is disappearing. Now, what's left is a standard origin story with no identity, no standout rhythm, and no clear promise that this will actually connect with the audience in a meaningful way. You see, it's a movie engineered in a boardroom, not brought to life on a director's terms, okay? And that's the sad part right there, because guess what? Warner Brothers loves this, because the last thing they want is controversy. They're already bruised from The Flash, Aquaman 2, and even Blue Beetle. So Superman is supposed to be clean, safe, basic. But here's the problem. Audiences can tell. And when people sense a movie was compromised, they treat it like damaged goods. That's the risk that James Gunn is taking right now, okay? Superman needs to be bold, but instead it's starting to actually look like, just another forgettable studio product, okay? Now, people still remember when Man of Steel came out and it had problems, but it also had guts. You see, Zack Snyder made a divisive film, but it had identity. James Gunn's Superman so far seems like it's heading toward being forgettable before it even premieres. I mean, I could be wrong. I hope I am. But it's like watching a chef remove every spice from a meal just to avoid someone complaining about flavor. What's left might be edible, but nobody's coming back for seconds, okay? And that's where we're heading if this trend keeps up. And look, James Gunn is not a rookie. He knows how to build a franchise and stuff, but there's a difference between a quirky ensemble movie and a cultural icon like Superman. You don't get to fumble the ball with this character, okay? If this doesn't land, people won't just blame the studio. They'll blame James Gunn personally. And you know what? If that happens, his entire DCU plan goes up in smoke. Every single project depends on Superman working. And right now, they're patching holes before the ship even launches, okay? So, yeah, the marketing hasn't even started either. And they're already hiding behind edits. You see, they're already pre-spinning the narrative. We made it better. We listened to the audience. No, you just second guess your own project because the first sign of criticism sent you into panic mode. Now, James Gunn needs to stop pretending that these are victories, okay? They're actually retreats. And the more Superman changes before release, the more fans are going to smell that fear, okay? But honestly, this movie was supposed to be the return of hope. That's how they sold it. A fresh classic take on Superman. But so far, all we're seeing is just, a studio throwing darts at a board, hoping something sticks. But that's not inspiration right there at all. That's actually desperation, okay? And no matter how many times James Gunn insists that this is the version that he always wanted, the constant reworks tell a different story. Now, Superman deserves better than being the lab rat in a studio's last ditch experiment, okay? Now, Superman bombs, it's over. The DCU won't recover. There's no second chance here, and James Gunn knows it, okay? That's why every decision is being retooled, reshaped, repackaged, and this isn't just a confident launch of a bold new era. It's the cautious rollout of a project that already has warning signs and flashing. And if you think the fans aren't noticing, well, you're not paying attention at all. We see the edits, we see the swaps, and we see the fear behind the curtain also. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Be sure to smash that like button if you enjoy what we're sharing the video. Subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell for future uploads and notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.